Hey there. You've been giving so much, haven't you? Changing yourself, bending yourself, making yourself smaller, all to fit into what someone else wants, all to keep a relationship, all to make them happy. And somewhere along the way, you lost yourself. You don't even recognize who you've become. You've given up so much, changed so much, sacrificed so much. Your opinions, your interests, your boundaries, your needs, your dreams, your values. Piece by piece, you've let them go, all to accommodate someone else, all to avoid conflict, all to keep them from leaving. And now you're lying here feeling empty, feeling like you don't even know who you are anymore, feeling like you've disappeared into someone else's life and lost your own. And maybe the worst part, they still don't appreciate it. They still don't value what you've given up. They still take you for granted, despite everything you've sacrificed. Take a breath with me. Just one breath. And as you exhale, feel the weight of what you've been carrying. The weight of constantly sacrificing yourself. The exhaustion of always being what someone else needs instead of who you actually are. Let your shoulders drop. Let yourself feel how tired you are of this, how depleted, how empty. Tonight, we're going to talk about something crucial, about not losing yourself in relationships, about not giving up who you are for someone who doesn't even value the sacrifice. Because here's the truth. When you lose yourself for someone else, you lose everything. You lose your identity. You lose your wholeness. You lose the very things that made you valuable in the first place. And ironically, the person you're sacrificing yourself for often loses respect for you. Because people don't value what comes too easily. They don't appreciate endless accommodation. They don't respect someone who has no boundaries. So you've sacrificed yourself, and they don't even appreciate it. You've given up who you are, and they still don't value you. That's the tragedy of losing yourself in a relationship. You give up everything, and you still don't get what you were hoping for. The love, the appreciation, the commitment, the value. So tonight, let's talk about reclaiming yourself. About finding who you were before you started shrinking. About setting boundaries and honoring your own needs even in relationship. You don't have to lose yourself to be loved. You don't have to sacrifice who you are to be valued. You don't have to disappear to keep someone. Actually, the opposite is true. When you maintain yourself, when you honor your own needs, when you stay true to who you are, that's when you're most lovable, most valuable, most worthy of being kept. So let's find you again. Let's remember who you are. Let's reclaim what you've lost while trying to be what someone else wanted. You're still in there, under all the sacrificing, under all the accommodating, under all the shrinking. You're still there, and it's time to bring you back. You know how this happened, how you lost yourself. It happened gradually, slowly, one small compromise at a time. First, you changed a small opinion, just to avoid conflict, just to keep the peace. It seemed harmless. Then you gave up a small preference, just to make them happy, just because their preference seemed more important. Again, seemed harmless. Then you adjusted your schedule, your plans, your priorities to accommodate theirs. Because that's what you do in relationships, right? Then you let go of a boundary, just this once, just for them, just because you didn't want to seem difficult. And on and on. One small sacrifice after another. One small change after another. One small piece of yourself after another. Until you look up and realize you don't recognize yourself anymore. You've changed everything. Given up everything. Become someone completely different. All in the name of love. All in the name of relationship. All in the name of keeping someone who maybe wasn't worth all this sacrifice in the first place. Because here's what you need to understand. Healthy relationships don't require you to lose yourself. Healthy love doesn't demand you become someone else. Healthy partnerships don't need you to sacrifice your identity. Real love loves you as you are. Real partnership values what you bring. Real relationship respects your boundaries and your needs. So if you've had to change everything about yourself to keep someone, that's not love. That's not partnership. That's not healthy relationship. That's you sacrificing yourself for someone who doesn't actually value the real you. That's you disappearing to accommodate someone who isn't willing to make room for who you actually are. And that's not worth it. No relationship is worth losing yourself. No person is worth giving up your identity. No love is worth sacrificing your wholeness. So what if you stopped? What if you stopped changing yourself? What if you stopped accommodating endlessly? What if you stopped sacrificing who you are? What if you set boundaries? What if you honored your needs? What if you expressed your opinions? What if you pursued your interests? What if you stayed true to your values? Would they still want you? Would they still stay? Would they still love you? If the answer is no, then they never loved you anyway. They loved the accommodating version, the shrinking version, the version that made everything about them. But that's not you. That's not who you actually are. That's just who you became trying to keep them. And if they can't love the real you, if they can't value who you actually are, if they can't respect your boundaries and needs, then they're not your person. They're someone who needs you to be small. Someone who needs you to have no needs. Someone who needs you to disappear so they can take up all the space. And that's not love. That's not partnership. That's not what you deserve. You deserve someone who wants you as you are, who values what you bring, who respects your boundaries, who appreciates your needs, who loves the real you, not the version you create by sacrificing everything. So stop sacrificing. Stop shrinking. Stop disappearing. Start being yourself again and see what happens. If they leave, they weren't right for you anyway, and you'll have yourself back, which is worth more than keeping someone who only wanted you small. Now let's talk about what you've actually lost, because I don't think you fully realize the cost of what you've been doing. You've lost your voice. You've stopped expressing your opinions because they always disagreed or dismissed them. So now you just agree, just go along, just stay quiet. You've lost your interests. You stopped doing things you loved because they weren't interested or didn't support them. So now you just do what they want. Just participate in their interests. Just make it about them. You've lost your boundaries. You stopped saying no because it caused conflict or disappointment. So now you just say yes. Just accommodate. Just give in. You've lost your needs. You stopped expressing what you need because it seemed like too much or made you seem needy. So now you just focus on their needs. Just take care of them. Just ignore your own. You've lost your dreams. You stopped pursuing what you wanted because it didn't fit their vision or wasn't convenient for them. So now you just support their dreams. Just facilitate their goals. Just forget your own. You've lost yourself. You've given up so much that you don't even know who you are anymore. You've become a supporting character in someone else's life instead of the main character in your own. And that's devastating. That's tragic. That's not what you were meant to be. You were meant to have a voice, to have opinions, to express yourself, not to stay silent. You were meant to have interests, to have passions, to pursue what you love, not to only participate in someone else's. You were meant to have boundaries, to say no, to protect yourself, not to accommodate endlessly. You were meant to have needs, to express them, to have them met, not to ignore them. You were meant to have dreams, to pursue them, to make them happen, not to sacrifice them for someone else's. You were meant to be yourself, fully, completely, unapologetically, not to disappear. So what if you reclaimed all of that? What if you found your voice again? What if you pursued your interests? What if you set boundaries? What if you expressed your needs? What if you chased your dreams? What if you became yourself again? The person you were before you started sacrificing. The person you're meant to be. the person who's been buried under all this accommodation. That person is still there, waiting, ready, wanting to come back out. So let them. Start speaking up. Start doing what you love. Start setting boundaries. Start expressing needs. Start pursuing dreams. Become yourself again. Reclaim what you've lost. Remember who you are. Not for the relationship, not to make them happy, not to keep them around. For you. Because you deserve to be yourself. Because you're worth not losing. Because you matter more than any relationship. So reclaim yourself, piece by piece. Voice, interests, boundaries, needs, dreams. All of it. Take back what you've given up. Become who you were meant to be. Stop disappearing for someone who doesn't even appreciate the sacrifice. You're worth finding again. You're worth fighting for. You're worth being. So be you, fully, completely, unapologetically. Starting now. Here's something important you need to understand. When you sacrifice yourself for someone, you're not actually helping the relationship. You're harming it. Because healthy relationships need two whole people, two individuals, two people who know themselves and express themselves and maintain themselves. When you lose yourself, the relationship loses half of what made it valuable. It becomes one person and one shadow, one life and one echo, one whole human and one accommodating ghost. That's not a real relationship. That's not partnership. That's one person living their life and another person facilitating it. And that's not sustainable. It's not healthy. It's not what you deserve. So when you think you're helping the relationship by sacrificing yourself, you're actually destroying what could make it good. You're removing the very things that made you interesting, valuable, attractive in the first place. You had opinions that made conversations interesting. But now you just agree, so conversations are boring. You had interests that made you multidimensional, but now you only do what they want, so you've become one-dimensional. You had boundaries that made you respectable, but now you have none, so they don't respect you. You had needs that made you human, but now you pretend you don't, so they treat you like you're not. You had dreams that made you dynamic, but now you've given them up, so you've become static. See what you've done? In trying to keep the relationship, you've removed everything that made it worth having. You've sacrificed the very things that made you valuable, and now they're bored, or they take you for granted, or they don't respect you, or they're looking elsewhere for what you used to provide. Not because you're not enough, but because you've made yourself less. You've shrunk yourself. You've removed your own value. So bringing yourself back isn't selfish. It's not damaging to the relationship. It's actually what the relationship needs. It needs you, the real you, the whole you, the you with opinions and interests and boundaries and needs and dreams. That's what makes a relationship good. Two whole people, not one person and one shadow. So reclaiming yourself isn't hurting the relationship, it's saving it. Or revealing that it was never real to begin with. If the relationship can't handle you being yourself, it's not a relationship worth having. If they can't deal with you having opinions and interests and boundaries and needs, they don't deserve you. Real relationships can handle two whole people. Real love wants you to be yourself. Real partnership needs you to maintain yourself. So don't sacrifice yourself thinking you're helping. You're not. You're harming. You're removing what makes the relationship valuable. Be yourself. That's what relationships need. That's what makes them work. That's what creates something actually worth having. Stop thinking sacrifice equals love. It doesn't. Wholeness equals love. Two whole people equals partnership. Maintaining yourself equals healthy relationship. So do that. Be whole. Stay yourself. Maintain your identity. That's not selfish. That's necessary. That's what creates real love. Let me tell you about boundaries. Real boundaries. The kind you need to stop losing yourself in relationships. Boundaries aren't walls. They're not rejection. They're not being difficult. Boundaries are just knowing where you end and someone else begins. What's okay and what's not. What you'll accommodate and what you won't. And you need them desperately. Because without boundaries, you disappear. You become whatever someone else needs. You have no shape of your own. So what boundaries do you need to set? What do you need to reclaim? No, I don't want to do that. That's a boundary. You're allowed to not want things. You're allowed to refuse. You're allowed to say no. I need time for myself. That's a boundary. You're allowed to need space. You're allowed to have separate time. You're allowed to not be available constantly. I disagree with that. That's a boundary. You're allowed to have different opinions. You're allowed to see things differently. You're allowed to not agree. That doesn't work for me. That's a boundary. You're allowed to have preferences. You're allowed to need things done differently. You're allowed to not just accommodate. I'm pursuing this even if you're not interested. That's a boundary. You're allowed to have your own interests. You're allowed to do things independently. You're allowed to not need their participation. These aren't mean. These aren't selfish. These aren't difficult. These are normal, healthy, necessary boundaries that everyone should have. but you've given them up. You say yes to everything. You're always available. You always agree. You always accommodate. You only do what they're interested in. And that's why you've lost yourself. Because without boundaries, there's no you. There's just whatever someone else needs you to be. So start setting boundaries. Start saying no. Start expressing disagreement. Start pursuing your interests. Start needing your own time. Start having preferences. And yes, they might not like it. They might push back. They might be uncomfortable. They might even threaten to leave. Because they're used to you having no boundaries. They're comfortable with you accommodating everything. They benefit from you having no needs. So when you start setting boundaries, it disrupts that. It changes the dynamic. It requires them to actually consider you instead of just expecting you to accommodate them. And that's good. That's necessary. That's how you know if this relationship is real. Real relationships can handle boundaries. Real love respects your needs. Real partnership requires mutual consideration. So if they can't handle you having boundaries, if they punish you for saying no, if they make you feel bad for having needs, that tells you something important. They don't want a real relationship. They want someone with no boundaries, someone who accommodates everything, someone who has no shape of their own. And that's not you. That's not who you should be. That's not what you deserve. You deserve someone who respects your boundaries, who appreciates that you have needs, who values that you're a whole person. So set boundaries, without apology, without guilt, without backing down when they push back. Set them. Maintain them. Let them reveal what this relationship actually is. If it's real, it will survive your boundaries. If it's not, it will end. And either way, you'll have yourself back, which is worth more than any relationship that requires you to have none. Now let's talk about something crucial. What it means to truly love someone versus losing yourself for them. True love doesn't require you to disappear. Real love doesn't need you to sacrifice who you are. Healthy love values you being yourself. But you've confused love with sacrifice. You've confused care with accommodation. You've confused commitment with self-abandonment. You think loving someone means making them happy at all costs, even the cost of yourself, even the cost of your needs, even the cost of your identity. But that's not love. That's codependency. That's losing yourself. That's sacrificing your wholeness for someone else's comfort. Real love is different. Real love is two whole people choosing each other. Two individuals maintaining themselves while also caring for each other. Two people who can say, "I love you," and "I love myself too." Real love says, "I care about your happiness, but not more than I care about my own wholeness." Real love says, "I want to make you happy, but not by making myself disappear." Real love says, I'm committed to this relationship, but I'm also committed to remaining myself. That's balance. That's health. That's what love actually looks like when it's real. Not you sacrificing everything while they give up nothing. Not you shrinking while they expand. Not you disappearing while they flourish. But both people maintaining themselves. Both people having boundaries. Both people honoring their needs. Both people staying whole. So loving someone doesn't mean losing yourself. It means loving them while also loving yourself. It means caring for them while also caring for you. It means being in relationship while also being yourself. And if someone needs you to lose yourself to love them, they don't actually love you. They love the idea of someone with no needs. Someone who makes everything easy. Someone who never challenges or needs or requires. But that's not a person. That's not you. That's not real. Real you has needs. Real you has boundaries. Real you has opinions and interests and dreams. Real you is a whole person who can't disappear without losing what makes you valuable. So love someone fully, deeply, completely. But don't lose yourself doing it. Love them and love yourself. Care for them and care for yourself. Be committed to them and be committed to remaining you. That's real love. That's healthy relationship. That's what you deserve. Not sacrifice. Not self-abandonment. Not losing yourself. But maintaining yourself while also choosing to share your life with someone. That's the difference. That's what you need to remember. That's what you need to reclaim. You can love someone without losing yourself. You should love someone without losing yourself. Real love doesn't require you to disappear. So stop sacrificing. Start maintaining. Stop abandoning yourself. Start honoring yourself. Stop disappearing. Start staying whole. Love someone, but love yourself too. That's not selfish. That's necessary. That's what makes love real and sustainable and healthy. You can love without losing. You should love without losing. That's real love. That's what you deserve. Here's what happens when you reclaim yourself. When you stop sacrificing. When you start being you again in the relationship. One of two things happens. Either the relationship gets better, or it ends. And both are actually good outcomes. If the relationship gets better, it's because they actually do love you, the real you. and they're capable of being with someone who has boundaries and needs and their own identity. When you stop accommodating everything, they step up. When you express your needs, they meet them. When you set boundaries, they respect them. When you pursue your interests, they support you. And the relationship becomes real, balanced, healthy. Two whole people instead of one person and one shadow. That's what you've been hoping for. That's what a real relationship looks like. That's worth having. But if the relationship ends, that's actually good too, because it reveals that it was never real, that they never loved the real you, that they only wanted you when you were small and accommodating and had no needs. And losing that isn't actually losing anything valuable. You're just losing the illusion. You're just losing someone who never actually wanted you. You're just losing a relationship that required you to not exist. That's worth losing. That's necessary to lose. That frees you to find something real. So either way, reclaiming yourself is positive. Either it makes the relationship real, or it reveals it never was. Both outcomes are better than staying lost. Both outcomes are better than continuing to sacrifice yourself. Both outcomes give you back what matters most: yourself. So don't be afraid of what happens when you start being yourself again. Don't fear their reaction. Don't worry about losing them. Because if being yourself loses them, they weren't worth keeping. If having boundaries ends it, it wasn't real. If expressing needs makes them leave, they never actually loved you. And that's okay. Actually, that's necessary information. That's freeing. That's clarifying. So reclaim yourself. Set boundaries. Express needs. Pursue interests. Be who you actually are. And let the relationship respond. Let them show you who they actually are. Let it reveal whether it's real or just you sacrificing yourself. Either it gets better or it ends, and both are victories. Better means you have yourself and a real relationship. Ended means you have yourself back and freedom to find something real. Both beat staying lost. Both beat continuing to sacrifice. Both beat remaining a shadow in someone else's life. So do it. Be yourself. See what happens. Trust that either outcome is better than what you've been doing. You staying yourself is worth more than any relationship. You maintaining your wholeness is worth more than keeping someone who needs you small. So be you, fully, completely, unapologetically, and let the chips fall where they may. Either you'll have yourself and a real relationship, or you'll have yourself and freedom. Both are worth having. Both are better than being lost. Tonight, As you lie here feeling empty from all you've sacrificed, I want you to do something. I want you to remember who you were before this relationship, before you started changing, before you started shrinking. Who were you? What did you love? What were your interests, your dreams, your boundaries, your values, your opinions? Can you remember? Can you see that person? Can you feel who you were before you started losing yourself? That person is still there, buried, dormant, waiting, but still there. And it's time to bring them back. Not tomorrow, not someday. Starting now, tonight. What's one thing you gave up that you miss? One interest you stopped pursuing? One boundary you need to set? One need you need to express? One dream you need to reclaim? Start there, with one thing, one piece of yourself, one step toward being you again. Do that thing. Set that boundary. Express that need. Pursue that interest. Take one step toward reclaiming who you are, and then another, and another, piece by piece, step by step, day by day. Reclaim yourself, not all at once, but steadily, consistently, determinedly. Bring back your voice, your interests, your boundaries, your needs, your dreams, all of it. Be you again. The you were meant to be. The you who got lost trying to keep someone. The you who's been waiting to come back. And as you do, watch what happens to the relationship. Watch how they respond. Watch whether it gets better, or whether it reveals itself as never having been real. Either way, you'll have yourself back, and that's what matters most. That's what you've been missing. That's what you need more than anything. You, the real you, the whole you. The you that exists independent of any relationship. That's who you're reclaiming tonight. That's who's coming back. That's who deserves to live again. So start now with one thing, one piece of yourself, one step toward wholeness. And keep going. Keep reclaiming. Keep becoming yourself again. You're still there, under all the sacrifice, under all the accommodation, under all the shrinking. You're still there. And it's time to come back. So come back. Be you. Reclaim what you've lost. Become whole again. Not for them, not for the relationship, for you. Because you're worth it. Because you deserve to exist. Because you matter more than any relationship. So reclaim yourself. Starting tonight. Starting now. One piece at a time. You're still in there. It's time to come back out. So come back. Be you. Live again. You're worth finding. You're worth fighting for. You're worth being. So be you. Fully. Completely. Unapologetically. Starting now. Let me tell you what your life looks like when you stop losing yourself in relationships, when you maintain your wholeness, when you stay yourself, even while loving someone. You wake up and still know who you are. You still have your interests, your opinions, your boundaries, your needs, your dreams. They haven't disappeared into someone else's life. You love someone deeply, fully, but you also love yourself. You care for them, but you also care for you. You're committed to them, but you're also committed to remaining whole. That's balance. That's health. That's what love looks like when it's real and sustainable. You have conversations where you express your actual opinions. You pursue activities you actually enjoy. You set boundaries when you need to. You express needs without apology. You chase dreams that matter to you. And if the relationship is real, they love that about you. They appreciate your wholeness. They respect your boundaries. They support your dreams. They value you being yourself. That's what becomes possible. That's what you're working toward. That's what life looks like when you stop sacrificing yourself. Not you alone, but you, whole, in relationship, maintained, individual, complete. Loving someone without losing yourself. Being committed without disappearing. Caring deeply without sacrificing everything. That's the goal. That's what you deserve. That's what's possible. So keep reclaiming. Keep setting boundaries. Keep expressing needs. Keep pursuing interests. Keep being yourself. And build relationships that can handle that want that value that. Relationships where both people are whole, where both people maintain themselves, where both people exist fully. That's real. That's sustainable. that's worth having. Not relationships where one person disappears, where one person has no needs, where one person makes everything about the other, but relationships where both exist, both matter, both are whole. That's what you're working toward. That's what becomes possible. That's what's waiting. So keep going. Keep reclaiming yourself. Keep refusing to disappear. You're worth staying whole for. You're worth maintaining. You're worth being. So be you, in relationship, fully yourself, completely whole. That's possible. That's what you deserve. That's what's coming. When you stop losing yourself, when you stay whole, when you maintain you even while loving someone, that's real love. That's healthy relationship. That's what's possible. So claim it. Live it. Be it. You whole. In relationship. Maintained. That's your future. That's what you're creating. That's what you deserve. So here we are, at the end of our time together tonight. And I hope something has shifted for you. I hope you see that you've been sacrificing too much, that you've lost yourself trying to keep someone, that you need to reclaim who you are. You've given up so much, changed so much, shrunk so much, all trying to be what someone else wanted, all trying to keep a relationship, all trying to be enough. But you were already enough, as you were, before you started changing, before you started sacrificing, before you started losing yourself. The real you is enough. The whole you is valuable. The you with boundaries and needs and opinions and dreams. That you is worth loving. And if someone can't love that you, if someone needs you to be small and accommodating and needless, they're not your person. Sleep tonight knowing that reclaiming yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. It's healthy. It's what you need to do. Tomorrow, start being yourself again. Set one boundary. Express one need. Pursue one interest. Take one step toward being whole again. And keep going. Keep reclaiming. Keep refusing to disappear. Keep being you, even in relationship. Either the relationship will become real, two whole people choosing each other, or it will end, revealing it never was real. And both outcomes are better than staying lost. Both outcomes give you back what matters most, yourself. So, reclaim you. Not for them, not for the relationship, for you. Because you're worth it. Because you matter. Because you deserve to exist fully. You don't have to lose yourself to be loved. You don't have to sacrifice who you are to keep someone. You don't have to disappear to be valued. The right person will love you as you are, will respect your boundaries, will value your needs, will appreciate you being whole. And if this person can't do that, then they're not the right person. And that's okay. Better to be yourself alone than to be lost in a relationship. So be you, fully, completely, unapologetically, starting now. Reclaim what you've lost. Set boundaries. Express needs. Pursue interests. Chase dreams. Be yourself. You're worth finding again. You're worth fighting for. You're worth being. So be you. Don't lose yourself for anyone. Don't sacrifice who you are for any relationship. Don't disappear to keep someone. Stay whole. Stay you. Stay yourself, even while loving someone. That's possible. That's healthy. That's what you deserve. Good night, dear friend. Tomorrow, start coming back. Start being you again. Start reclaiming what you've lost. You're still there, under all the sacrifice. It's time to come back. So come back. Be you. Live again. You're worth it. Don't lose yourself. Stay whole. Be you. Always. Sweet dreams.